Welcome to Become an Idol. I'm Dr. Robin Sargent, owner of Idol Courses. This is the place where newbies come to learn and veterans share their knowledge. I have here with me today Kate Udalova, and you may know her as the owner and co-founder of 7TAPS. And I brought Kate on today to share her story and to also talk about the amazing tool that is 7TAPS and how you can use it for creating microlearning and all kinds of other things. And I actually got introduced to Kate through a combination of LinkedIn and Tabitha Dragonberry. And so I'm just so grateful that she made this connection and that we could bring Kate on today. So, Kate, would you please do a better job of introducing yourself?
Yeah, sure. And initially, I just want to say that it's an honor for me to be here with you. So thanks for having me. And as for me, I'm a passionate L&D professional with marketing background and deep interest in the educational technology field. Now I am on the adventure of building my own company. So as you already mentioned, I'm a founder and chief product officer at 7TAPS. Previously, I spent about 6 years in L&D consulting company. And at one moment, I just decided to change direction and I started thinking about how I could contribute to the industry. So that's how my product was born. And actually, all my interest now is focused on 7TAPS.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you have a rich history of actually doing the work in the learning and development industry, and I want to hear that story. I want to hear how you got started, and did you know you were going to become an instructional designer? Was there an accidental story there? I want to know how you became an idol.
Well, I'm a big fan of simple products. And for me, genius means simple because the simplicity is pretty hard to achieve. And the main reason I decided to change the direction and leave my previous employer's company was that I saw all sorts of companies experiencing almost the same knowledge delivery problems. They were forever struggling with some cumbersome and complicated e-learning platforms and the like. And sometimes it took learners too much time to access the content. So I was thinking about how could I build something that would be more easy to use, would be more welcome by learners. So when the lockdown broke down, actually, I thought that it was a sign to do something on my own. Actually, I embarked upon my startup journey with feeling that I'm somehow equipped with enough knowledge grabbed from working with clients and from dealing with some product development. So I was confident enough that I have a product vision. I want to deliver it to the industry. And from the feedback I keep receiving on a daily basis, I understand that, I'm something onto it. It's something valuable. I'm still working on the product. I'm still working on improving it, but actually, it seems that I'm doing the right thing. I hope that sounds not selfish. Just the way it is. Yeah, I'm happy to. I'm happy to hear what clients talk about 7TAPS, and actually for this podcast, I did one thing that I haven't done before for any other interview. I have collected a few messages from clients that I received recently, and if you'd like, I can read them to you.
Kate, I definitely want to hear them. I have no problem with people being proud of the work that they do. I think that more people, like, especially if you're going to like let people know about like the work that you do, like be proud about it. So I'm with you. I want to hear it. So I think what I want to share with people next is just let's tell them like what the heck is 7
Oh,
taps?
sure.
And like, what does it do? And then we will talk about all the things that people rave about.
I'm sorry, I'm not just experienced interviewee actually, and I'm too excited to talk about 7 taps, so I just forgot that not everyone knows about it, unfortunately. So my product, 7 taps, is a free web-based authoring tool that allows for the creation of bite-sized content, and you can do it faster than ever, actually. We are making microlearning development simple to use and available to everyone. And I mean literally to everyone. Even a child, even a person without no instructional design skills, without no technical background can create something beautiful, engaging, and easy to digest just in minutes. So yeah, I think that's the main definition of what 7 taps is.
Yeah, and if you will forgive me, Kate, I'll just like to say that it looks like an Instagram story. It kind of like works like an Instagram story in the sense like, you just kind of tap and you go to the next image or video or whatever. That's kind of how 7 taps is set up. So it's really fun to use. And then you happen to learn something?
Yeah, and recently one of the 7 taps users put together a great blog post about 7 taps, and he said something like this: that if you are able to post a photo on Instagram, so you are skilled enough to use 7 taps, just because it's even easier than to post a photo. So as for the stories, I believe that stories lend themselves easily to the principle of microlearning, because the amount of text you can put on the card is limited, and stories are just a great format because users know how to interact with them. So for learners, there's no need to pass any onboarding course. They just click on the link, the 7 taps course link, and they start learning immediately because they know how to interact with stories, right? So, and just to add one more thing, stories actually has won over all social media platforms. So I thought, why not to introduce them in the e-learning field? Because I think that it's just a good way to transfer some knowledge in the format that learners are used to. They love the way they can get something, learn something from stories.
And now, Kate, you have been in the industry as a learning designer. So I want to talk about 7 taps. I also really have to get your story. How did you become an instructional designer?
Well, that's a great question, because when I started my career just 7.5 years ago, I used to enter the L&D industry from the marketing side. Actually, I was in marketing, and my company sold the expertise in L&D, HR, and organizational management. And I couldn't just promote those products efficiently without understanding what they are and why clients do need them. So that's how my first interaction with L&D industry actually occurred. And once I entered it, I just fell in love in days, in minutes, because marketing and L&D are pretty similar to each other. For me, a learner is my customer, and I want to treat them respectfully. I want to deliver them knowledge as easy as I can in order not to waste any second of their precious attention. So that's how it all started. And thanks to the advantage of working in a consulting company, I learned a lot from clients. I dealt in projects from different business areas, and I think that it was a luxury to learn by doing, by seeing how your company's solutions can influence your clients' organizational environment. And just at one moment, I realized that, yeah, I'm ready for the next step in my career. I want more. So that's how I quit and started doing something on my own. I never look back, but I really appreciate all the experience I got during working for that employer, and they taught me a lot. And I suppose it was great to start my career there. Yeah.
Okay, because I had to get that story before we go into the rest of it. I just had to know. All right, so and then you just started doing something on your own, which now, how long since you quit, and then did you actually work as a learning designer before you started Seven Taps, or you really, it was more like you worked as a learning designer as part of your interaction in the consulting firm?
Actually, my position was always related to marketing, but I worked as a part of consultant teams, and among our responsibilities sometimes were some tasks related to developing some content. And actually, as for me personally, I dealt a lot with creating some content for mostly PowerPoint style training content, and being a huge fan of some concise text, some brief text and call to action, even without understanding what microlearning is at that time, I was somehow intuitively trying to implement microlearning principles for our clients, and I saw how their learners would react to such content. Yeah, well, just maybe I could add something else. Just ask me something else.
Yeah, no, it's all starting to come together. I just wanted to make sure that I understood your full story, and it really is interesting, just how, I mean, I agree with you that there is a lot of crossover between marketing and learning design, and sometimes it really is just about what we call one thing or the other. And so you've been kind of intuitively working on microlearning, and then obviously you got more engrossed in it, and then you built Seven Taps, and so I want to know, like, well, I guess we could say what we could define microlearning, because many of our people are new to instructional design, and so what we just say, like, it's short, consumable learning materials that accomplishes one learning objective at a time. That's pretty much my definition. What's yours, Kate?
Your definition sounds great, actually, and pretty close to mine. For me, microlearning is nothing else but being brief, tailored to the learner's needs, and calling to action. And for the 2020 first year, I suppose that it should be mobile friendly. Actually, every learning should be mobile friendly today, but as for microlearning, it is just crucial to be really mobile friendly.
Okay, so now we know what microlearning is. All right, now what are your favorite and best tips on how we can approach microlearning for the different types of things that we are creating for our learners?
Well, I always start recommending something related to microlearning with defining your learning objective, because sometimes not even microlearning is the solution, but not even e-learning is a solution to your organizational challenge. And as for the microlearning itself, I suggest evaluating the current average level of knowledge of the audience you have, of your learners. If you know it, it will be easier to deliver some really useful information that they can use at the when they need it. Because microlearning for me is not about some preparation for some possible events in your working life. It's about using it right at the point of use. Then I suppose it would be great to chunk your content, because microlearning is not just about dividing some larger piece of content into several snippets or, I don't know, info bytes. It's about delivering the essence of information. And as for the feedback we keep receiving from clients, it's really challenging part of creating microlearning experience, since you have to cut down some information, you have to think whether it is really helpful, really useful for your learners or not. And sometimes it's even painless to, to cut down some information that sounds pretty useful, but not really helpful to your learners. Well, then you can define the high-level plan of ideas you want to deliver in one particular course. And that's why in 7 Tabs, we have the so-called built-in structure that helps you to do that, because I think that every good course, and it doesn't relate only to microlearning experience, have some structure behind. You cannot just be wordy and telling everything you know. You have to put ideas somehow hierarchically, and then you can differentiate your learner experience with some types of, when we speak about 7 Tabs, we have various types of cards. You can use images, GIFs, audio components, or you can link your microcourse to some video hosted somewhere, for example, on YouTube and whatsoever. But as for me, I think that the main component that allows your content be really helpful and useful and relevant is to be really attentive to who your learners are, what they really need, what level of knowledge do they have, and how you can help them. This kind of empathy will even help you to create some kind of text that maybe not be wrapped up into any e-learning platform, beautiful, interactive, gamified course, but even being a simple plain text, but really focused on your learner, it really can do wonders. You know what I mean? So just all those features, all those, I don't know, clickable nonsense sometimes doesn't cost anything. There's no much sense if there's no story behind, if there's no relevance behind, if you are not really familiar to the problems your learners are dealing with.
What are some of your favorite examples, Kate, of exactly what you've talked about? Like, what was the problem that they were trying to solve, and who were the learners, and what kind of things did they create? What are some of those case studies you have on the top of your head? Yeah.
Well, let me just recall something. Actually, as for 7 Tabs, we do not have access to the content our users are creating. And currently, I'm not creating something for clients too, but I can recall one great experience we have with the company who has lots of distributors across the country. And actually, they were not really willing to go through some long, sometimes boring videos and so on. They were really focused on their daily problems, on their routine, and they were not interested in going through something that was imposed on them by the vendors that are just bringing some production to the little shops. So for them, we started from analyzing what problems do they really face while selling such products. And it was a huge research part of the project. And actually, it even lasted longer than the process of content development itself. We spent months on trying to understand what are the barriers for them to sell those products. We talked to lots of real salesmen, and we were really careful about gathering the feedback from them. So we put together a list of the top questions they had, and we answered those questions just using their own language, first of all. And we were not trying to make them learn everything about the products, because it turned out that they do not all that information. They just needed an answers for some kind of particular questions. And we put it like, here is the question, here is the answer, here is the question, here is the answer. And I cannot speak from the client, because I also interacted with the people who received such learning, and they were all excited, because they could not even imagine that the learning can be this way, not just for them just to watch a 30-minute long video trying to pick up some useful information, but wow, here is just a slide with the question and with the answer, and that's all. And they were feeling like being equipped rather than being taught something,
Yeah.
and it was really a successful project. It helped a client, I mean the vendor of those production, to increase their sales a lot.
So it's not only did they happen to learn things when they look up those answers, but now, just like you said, they're equipped with an actual resource in their
Absolutely.
pocket. And so that's a great case study, right? Where it's not just a learning solution in the traditional sense, where, like you said, they're being told something, but it's more like an on-the-job aid. And that's kind of something that you mentioned, Kate, as far as like the way that you think about micro learning. It's not just something that's chunked content, but it's something that can be used in the moment of need. And so that's a great example. So what are some of, I bet we'll probably hear a little bit of a hint of a case study and some of the reviews of 7TAPS. You want to read a couple?
Sure. Just first of all, I'd like to mention that initially we launched 7TAPS in order to train frontline staff, and we were aiming to help small businesses actually. But then our customers invented, I don't know, 100 other ways to use the tool. So use cases of 7TAPS application are so diverse that I won't be able even to name all of them. And as for the most popular use cases in the corporate environment, I think I can put it this way. So people use Microcourses for some pre-work before longer training sessions to warm learners up somehow. Then they use Microcourses in forms of prompts and reminders after some training sessions or webinars or I don't know, some online events. And they deliver some how-tos and very basic do's and don'ts just to refresh some knowledge for their learners. But actually 7TAPS is not limited to L&D environment. We keep seeing use cases when people use it for customer onboarding, for internal communications. And, I know that you deal a lot with people who are transitional to instructional design or just upgrading their skills when they're already in the field. And as for 7TAPS, it helps newbies a lot to demonstrate their skills without having to spend ages on learning complicated e-learning platforms. And actually, just a few weeks ago, my colleague received a message from a woman who made her first 7TAPS course as a part of her interview process, and she got the job. It was just the message we were all excited about. We just called a meeting, with 7TAPS team, and we're like, wow, we did a great job, because we were feeling like being a part of her success. And that's the best motivation for us. It's something that helps us to do more, to work harder. And as for other comments, uh, frankly speaking, in 99% of the cases, they brought tears to my eyes because I'm pretty sensitive about being helpful to others, and I appreciate a lot. I appreciate every kind word that I see on LinkedIn, that I receive on, I don't know, some emails whatsoever. So one guy texted that 7tabs effectively does half of his work for him, and it allows him to concentrate on making the content just meaningful and useful. Just my side note, we tried to help you to be effective just in what you are meant to do in delivering knowledge, and leave everything else to us. We'll do everything with the design work. We'll wrap it up beautifully. Just if you have something to say, please feel free to say it. We'll help you to be will help you to be more effective in such a delivering. And there's one more quote I've collected about that everything in 7tabs is so smooth and clear that you just want to dive in and start creating your course. It's something that really inspires me because I suppose that learning is something that helps the world to become a better place, So with 7tabs, we are doing something socially valued. And I don't know, I don't know if it sounds just convincing, but please, people, share your knowledge. I suppose that everyone has a lot to share and a lot to speak about. So here is a free forever tool. So let's start and create something great and share it with your colleagues, with your friends, with your families. And I'm sure you'll love the way you create and deal with the platform. And I'm sure you'll love the reaction you'll receive.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And that is a great example too, Kate, that you gave about someone who created a 7tabs for their instructional design interview or during that assessment process, and they got the job. And so I think that's just another piece of value that we could bring to our audience, that 7tabs really is free forever. You can share up to 3 of your 7tabs courses. You just go to the number 7tabs, TAPS.com, and you can sign up for your free account, and you can go and create up to at least 3 sample courses to share on your portfolio or with future hiring managers. So just another way to learn the tool, but also help you reach your goals, which is just an incredible.
Yeah. And, just before I forget about it, with 7tabs, you do not have to install anything on your computer. All you have to create a course is just the internet and your browser. That's all. And it takes seconds to sign up. So yeah, I think that it's a good place to start for newcomers to the L&D industry, and to demonstrate that they know the instructional design and they are able to train someone. Because I've listened lots of stories from ex-teachers who were really scared about having to spend lots of weeks, not to say months, on just trying to build a very basic stuff on some popular platforms. So with 7tabs story is absolutely different. And just for your information, guys, 7tabs is not replacing anything. It's just one more great tool on your tool set. But if you want to create something really fast, something easy, and in an engaging manner, so I highly recommend you to try it, at least.
I mean, so many of the criticisms that I heard of the learning and development department when I was working full time was, oh, I don't want to wait 3 to 6 months for, the learning and development team to build us an e-learning course. And so they would just go back to doing webinars for everything. And so this alone is, I know obviously analysis, just like in your example, Kate, can take a few months if you really haven't nailed down that problem. But in so many other cases, just being able to build quickly, and even if you have to build a full solution in the background, but to be able to get something to the people that satisfies both your stakeholders and your learners is really quite impressive and very, very, very useful.
Yeah, and it sprang to my mind that recently I stumbled upon a great research made by Robin DeFelice, and it was a question about top barriers to foster learning, design, and development. And the first place went to limited resources. I mean, time, budget, talent development, team headcount. More than 60% of respondents answered that limited resources takes them from learning, design, development faster. So yeah, with 7TAPS, we are just reacting to this challenge, and 7TAPS is designed to overcome this barrier.
Well, what's some of the most unique uses you've seen 7TAPS used for? Do you have any of those in mind, Kate?
Most funny use case was when a guy taught his child how to use dishwasher with 7TAPS course. Yeah, I think that
I need a copy of that.
Yeah, and as for some other use cases, currently we are running the 7TAPS course creator contest, and now the season 2 is in full swing. So from what I can gather from the first season, the topics to create your 7TAPS courses are so diverse. We have courses about e-learning industry. We have courses for data analysis. We have courses about some communications and family. Just yesterday, I was tagged in the post about some empathy, some basic empathy rules when you deal with your child. And well, the use cases are pretty different. As for the clients' use cases, some clients share with me their 7TAPS experience. And recently, a guy from a company, they have lots of delivery drivers. So he came up with a brilliant idea to distribute 7TAPS courses via QR codes. They print QR codes in the forms of stickers and put those stickers directly in the trucks. So the delivery driver can access the course just in a second while he I don't know, he stops somewhere or he's waiting for something, so those drivers actually do not have a laptop, and the mobile first experience is the only way out to reach out to them. And as for 7TAPS, they understand that it won't take longer than 10 minutes to go through the course, and they are willing to take it. So yeah, I think that case is something valuable to share with the audience. So you see, I was not even thinking about such a way to use QR codes when we were introducing this feature to 7TAPS. So,
oh my gosh, that's brilliant. I mean, just think about all the places you could put a QR code that would be useful, like near a machine, in the hospital, near like on a machine or near something. There's just so, I mean, when you mention it that way, Kate, there's so many ideas I bet other people have too about just how useful that can be. Well, Kate, yeah. I love your product and I love what you shared about microlearning. If there's any like last bit of advice that you would give to those that are listening who are new to the learning and development industry, what's kind of like your best advice, whether it has to do with, growing their career or, microlearning in general? What's your best and final advice?
Being a first-time founder, I would advise someone to not too afraid of taking some opportunities, and to ask yourself, what do you want to do? How do you want to contribute to, I don't know, some industry, whether it's e-learning industry or not? And I had lots of struggles on my startup journey, actually, but it was every bit worth it. So as for a person, I would just suggest to be brief. And if you are waiting for some sign, so here it is. I'm sure you are going to make it, no matter what kind of activity it's in your mind now. And as for giving some advice to e-learning designers, L&D specialists, I know that microlearning is on the uptick today, and it's pretty hot topic, and everyone speaks about it. It's kind of a buzzword, but it all down to the platform you actually use. I just do not want to contrast 7tabs to other types of platforms, but I'm sure that if you start creating some micro content with 7tabs, you'll definitely fall in love with the microlearning itself. So I just highly recommend to start using it. And if you have any questions or suggestions or advice, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to chat. I'm really open. Just connect on LinkedIn, and just that's all.
That's great advice. I love that you've given people permission to go and take risks, because that's really how you reap the biggest rewards, is taking those risks. And so, huge props to you, Kate, for doing it. Starting your own business and leaving a job that you were secure and comfortable in is such a huge risk, and it's paid off. And now you're really making an impact on, I would say, in the world. And so I'm just so happy to have had you on today, Kate, and I really appreciate your spirit and all that you have shared with us today. So thank you so much.
Absolutely, likewise. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening. You can find the show notes for this episode at idlecourses.com. If you like this podcast and you want to become an instructional designer and online learning developer, join me in the Idle Courses Academy, where you'll learn to build all the assets you need to land your first instructional design job, early access to this podcast, tutorials for how to use the e-learning authoring tools, templates for everything course building, and paid instructional design experience opportunities. Go to idlecourses.com/academy and enroll or get on the waitlist. Now get out there and build transcendent courses.